Hi, I am Lola, and welcome to the Perimenopause Playbook, where we empower women in peri and postmenopause to take control of their lives, starting with your home as ground zero for cognitive health. Through neuroscience-informed design, we create a toolkit to support your cognitive, emotional, and personal transformation, evolving with your needs. This is where you reignite your power and make things happen again, starting with the space you live in. Stick around. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 15. It's been, I skipped an entire 3 weeks, and there's good reason for that. I had an almighty food poisoning. I could not get anything done, but I am happy and grateful to be back able to record again, and my voice is back, and I'm super excited to bring this episode to you that I've titled The Alpha Zone, Cultivating, Relaxation, and Creativity. If you remember, the last episode 14 was an introduction into brainwave states. If you haven't listened to it yet, I encourage you to go listen to it. It's super interesting, and I think that you find it informative. So in this episode, we're going to explore how intentionally designed spaces can help your brainwave get into that relaxed and creative and problem-solving zone that we all need in this time of life, especially when we're reinventing ourselves and we're changing careers or we're starting new businesses, name it. And so we'll be exploring the neuroscience and psychology behind the alpha brainwave state, as well as how our interior design strategies can help you feel your best during moments of reflection and inspiration. Now, just think for a moment, what if your home wasn't just a place that you live in, but it's a sanctuary that nurtured your mind as well as your body? So today, I am going to be really diving into the fascinating world of alpha brainwave states, which is a mental state that's both calm and creative, relaxed yet alert. And by intentionally designing our spaces, we can all harness this flow state and unlock our potential for problem solving, imagination, and emotional balance. Now, what are alpha brainwave states? We need to get started with defining what that is. Yes? So alpha waves are measured at 8 to 12 hertz, and these are your brain's way of finding equilibrium. They sit between the high stress beta waves and the deeply restorative theta waves. You can find them naturally arising when you're relaxed but alert, such as when you're meditating, when you're doing some light reading, or you're daydreaming. Now, you probably ask me, why is this important to know? Well, it is really fascinating to learn how creativity thrives during alpha brainwave activity. The first thing is that problem solving becomes a lot easier when your brain's default mode network is switched on. And a simple definition of the default mode network, also known as DMN, it's from Science Direct. It's very simple, and it defines it as a network of brain regions that activate during internally focused thought processes and deactivate during external tasks. And of course, internally focused thought processes like meditation trigger the release of alpha brainwave states. I mean, they don't release them, but it triggers the activity in the brain. So it's really just such a super cool thing to know and to understand and learn how to trigger when you need them. And so moving on, a second reason why I feel that it's important to understand how to trigger this brainwave state is that when you do trigger it, your stress level is reduced as alpha waves counteract the fight or flight response. And that's really cool. So here's a little promise of what's in store for you in this episode. By the time you have finished this conversation, you will already know how to create spaces that help your brain fire up those lovely alpha waves so that you can chill out and get those creative juices flowing. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast, I would like to quickly plug my coaching program that is, the doors are opening in 2 weeks. It's called Reinvention Program. So basically in a nutshell, it is a combination of interior design coaching and lifestyle coaching. So you have a 6-month program with weekly video and PDF content. And once every week, you and we meet for an hour to talk about what you've learned and create an action plan for intentionally recreating your home space. And that would range from it will range anywhere from looking at your space, your floor plan, doing a mood board for you, or whatever your space needs is included in the package. So it is an all-in-one, basically, interior design services and lifestyle practices. And also, once every month, I'm still working on curating the people that I'm going to bring on. I'm bringing on a neuroscientist. I already have an emotional intelligence coach. I have a power coach. We have a lifestyle coach. So it's really going to be fun. Once every month, we bring on one person for an Ask Me Anything. Everybody in the community can ask their questions for 90 minutes, and it's all answered. That's among other things. So once we launch, I'll start popping the link for you to read everything you need to know with regards to the coaching program. Is all on the website. Not yet launched, but once it's up and running, you can have access to it. And you can also take a really quick quiz to evaluate whether the program is right for you. So I'm really excited about it. All right, so now that is out of the way, let us get into it. So let us talk about what is happening in your brain when you're in an alpha brainwave state. So imagine when a gear shifts in your mind, like you're transitioning from a hyper-focused state of beta waves to the relaxed flow of alpha waves. It's a state where your brain is priming itself for creativity and calm reflection, and it's the perfect balance of peace and alertness. So when your brain is in alpha mode, it's like it's entering a sanctuary of calm clarity. These brain waves, which, like I mentioned earlier, oscillating at 8 to 12 hertz, they are strongest when distractions are minimal and your mind is free to wander. It's like being in a flow state. And in this state of default mode network, I mentioned it earlier, the definition, sometimes called, and it's also sometimes called your brain's creative engine, the DMN switches on, which gives rise to innovative ideas and deep insights. That is so cool. However, moving forward, scientific research supports this. So this is not just some kind of woo-woo anecdata. A study by Tang et al. In 2015 found that mindfulness practices and gentle movement significantly enhances alpha brainwave activity. And this is a reminder that these moments of intentional calm are not just good for your soul, but they also fuel your brain's creativity. And this is the perfect little segue into connecting alpha brainwave states with one of our brain superpowers, that is neuroplasticity. Now, neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to adapt, rewire, and form new connections. Alpha waves also play a pivotal role in supporting this process, which helps your mind stay flexible and resilient. So what does this mean for you? You're probably wondering. When you engage in activities that promote alpha brain waves, whether it's meditation, deep breathing exercises, or even a simple daily ritual, you're essentially training your brain to be more adaptable. And over time, this can enhance your mental health and expand your creative potential. Who doesn't want that? Now let's break this down into practical steps that you can take today to invite more alpha wave states into your life. The first thing is have a daily mindfulness ritual. Just spending 5 minutes a day doing focused breathing or a guided meditative practice goes a really long way to getting you into this brainwave state. And this small but powerful habit can make a significant difference in your brain's alpha activity and help you feel centered, more centered. The second takeaway here is what scientists call movement snacks. So when you incorporate short bursts of gentle movement into your day, it also helps to trigger this brain state. Think of a a quick yoga flow routine, or a walk in your garden, or doing a bit of gardening, or if you have indoor plants, tending to your indoor plants, or even stretching by your desk. These little acts of motion refresh your brain and they open up space for creativity. So remember, alpha waves thrive in moments of calm. So give yourself the gift of slowing down. You're not letting anybody down. You're not being lazy. You're doing your brain a world of good. Your brain and your creativity will thank you for it. Right, before we go into the second segment of this podcast, I would love if you would take 10 minutes to fill a survey. If you're in perimenopause and postmenopause and you're listening to this podcast, I would appreciate if you took the survey. The link is in my, it's in the show notes. And after you finish the survey, you get a free e-guide and interactive workbook that is guaranteed to revolutionize the way you look at your interior spaces. So thanks for that, and let's move on. So we know that relaxation, we've already established that relaxation and creativity go hand in hand. But how exactly can we cultivate this synergy in our everyday lives? You're probably wondering. Psychology research provides us with tools to not only understand this connection, but to actively enhance it. So in this segment, we're going to explore the balance between stress levels and relaxation, and the mental weight of clutter, and how global wisdom can inspire a sense of calm and creativity in the space. So let's start with the psychological framework. The Yerkes-Dodson curve. Very interesting. I just found out about it, and it is super cool. And it illustrates that our performance is at its best when we are in a sweet spot of stress and relaxation. This all circles back to the alpha brainwave state. And this is where the alpha waves are at their peak. They foster creativity and problem solving. So conversely, too much stress catapults the brain into high beta activity, and this is a domain of hyperfocus and even high anxiety levels. On the other end of the spectrum, too little stimulation can leave us feeling unmotivated, which makes it hard to focus or innovate. So what's the key here, you're asking? The key here is balance. The optimal state is not about being completely stress-free, because we need a fair amount of stress in our day. Our body needs it too. That's why we have early release cortisol in the mornings to help us get into the day. Our bodies need the stress to function, but too much of it throws our body out of balance. So it's not about being completely stress-free. It's about finding that harmonious middle ground where you're engaged, but you're not overwhelmed. And this is where relaxation techniques and mindful design will come into play. So let's turn our attention to something that often flies under the radar, but has a profound impact on our mental states. The first thing is that I've always talked about a lot in my past podcast, clutter. And I talk about it a lot on social media posts that I make as well. I cannot overstate the importance of clutter and the impact that it has on our mental state. So clutter looks anything like visual noise, such as piles of paper, overflowing drawers, or even a messy desktop. These visual noise elements compete for your brain's attention, and in turn creates cognitive overload. The overloads your working memory, which then makes relaxation and your alpha brainwave state much, much harder to achieve. Now, a 2021 study by Pratt and Liu found that decluttering not only reduces mental strain and cognitive overload, but it also improves emotional regulation. All simply, a tidy space supports a much calmer mind state. And it's a psychological reset that can make a noticeable difference, an immediate noticeable difference in how we feel and function. Now, if you would like to know more about this Yerkes-Dodson curve, I've popped the research down in the show notes because it's a really interesting piece of research, and I think you'll find it interesting. Now, let us focus on what we can do to reduce this cognitive overload and create a more alpha-friendly environment. So the first thing is to reframe decluttering not as a cleaning up routine, but as a self-care routine. So rather than viewing it up as, a chore that you have to do that's just so much work, think of it as a gift that you're giving to yourself and your mental state. You're creating a space that supports your mental clarity and your emotional balance. And so sometimes it can get overwhelming when you say you want to, especially if you've had piles and piles of clutter in your space. Going all out can become very, very overwhelming. So start small. Begin with small manageable areas. Say, for instance, you start with the immediately accessible space, like a bedside table, for instance, or your drawer space or your desktop. These quick wins would build momentum when you congratulate yourself for a job well done, and it will give you a sense of accomplishment. And of course, you need to set boundaries. So you need to protect your mental energy by creating these habits that limit overstimulation of your brain. For instance, designate specific times for responding to your emails or scrolling social media, or what I would like to call doom scrolling. And this will free up your mental space for creativity. So as opposed to spending so much time on social media, I'm guilty of it as well, but I am becoming more, with the meditative practices that I've been doing, I'm becoming more aware of my unconscious state, because a lot of the time we're doom scrolling unconsciously. We're just scrolling through it mindlessly. But the more aware we are of our subconscious mind, our unconscious mind, the more inclined we would be to take a breath, step back, and ask ourselves if this action is benefiting our mental state. If the answer is no, you have the presence of mind to walk away from it, step away from it, and instead ask yourself what would spark joy for you, what would bring positivity into your life, and what would help enhance your cognitive health. That's a simple way to do it, but it all starts with a mindfulness practice that creates a sense of awareness of yourself, of how your mind works, and so forth. I can't overstate the importance of having a meditative practice. Anyway, so let's move on to create the global wisdom that I've gathered for creating inner calm. In psychology, we are taught that our environments shape our emotional states. And across cultures, we've found so many principles that guide us towards living a more simple and serene life. The first that I really love is Japanese Zen principles. Now, Zen philosophy emphasizes having an intentional lifestyle and intentionally living simply. This is not about minimalism for its own sake, but it's about creating space that aligns with what truly matters to you. So you're creating space, and then you start to fill up that space intentionally with the things that matter. That's Japanese Zen principle in a nutshell. It's more complex than that. And if you want to know more, I would pop a link to something that talks about it in the show notes. Yeah. Another really cool one that I've talked about in the past is Hygge. It's the Danish art of coziness. So Hygge is all about crafting a sense of warmth and contentment in the surroundings. So think soft textures, warm lighting, and the joie de vivre of small comforts like a favorite blanket or a cup of tea. For instance, I have this faux fur blanket that I have close by me on my work desk. And right now, as I am recording, I have it wrapped around my waist, down to my feet, keeping me warm. And I have a cup of tea. I haven't been feeling coffee lately, and I think that's the offshoot of the food poison that I have. But I digress. My Hygge is my faux fur blanket and a cup of tea while I work. So when we draw from these traditions, we can design spaces or curate these spaces that are not just functional, but they nourish our emotions. So this is how you can put these psychological insights into action today. The first thing is to reframe and simplify. You approach decluttering as an empowering act of self-care, not a chore. Start with a small area and celebrate your progress. It's really important to celebrate your small wins. And small wins lead to even bigger wins, And before you know it, you have this ginormous win that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this, right? So the second thing is to focus on what brings you joy. Borrow from Huga and Zen by surrounding yourself with items that bring you happiness and comfort. And the third thing is to balance stress with relaxation. So check in with yourself several times in the day. This is where a sense of awareness of yourself comes in. Ask yourself if you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling understimulated, and adjust your activities or your environmental cadence to find that sweet spot for optimal performance. Remember, the way you design your space is a reflection of how you care for your mind. So when you prioritize simplicity and calm, you can create an environment where creativity flourishes. So to wrap up this segment, it's important to give credit to whom credit is due. Psychologists are doing an amazing job with all the research and all the amazing stuff that's coming out. Same thing with neuroscientists. 10 years ago, a lot of the information that we have today that's helping so many people and revolutionizing the way that we live our lives today, 10 years ago, they were non-existent. So I'm just taking this moment to say thank you to all psychologists out there doing due diligence, doing all their research, and all neuroscientists out there doing due diligence and doing their research. Because psychology and neuroscience, they give us the tools that we need to build a cognitive health toolkit. And psychology in particular gives us the tools to strike that perfect balance between relaxation and creativity if we know how to harness those tools. And when we manage our stress levels by reducing clutter and drawing inspiration from global wisdom, among other things, these are just three things that I highlighted here. There's a wealth of strategies that we can use. And if we leverage these, among others, you can create spaces that feel like an extension of your best self. Now that we've done with that, let's dive into how interior design can turn these principles into tangible, transformative changes in your home. So we have, so far, we have explored the science of alpha brainwave states, and also the psychology of relaxation. Now, let us bring this all together and bring these concepts to life, because this is interior design focused, right? The answer lies in the power of interior design, my favorite topic of all time. Your space is not just a backdrop for your everyday life. It's not a silent backdrop in the background that's not doing anything. It actively shapes your mindset. So we're going to look at how thoughtful and intentional design strategies can help you create an alpha zone, which is a sanctuary for relaxation and creativity. The first and really important element, because this is really important to me, because this is a strategy that I have. I grew up with this strategy unconsciously, because I grew up in a home where my dad just loved nature, and we had this compound with trees and plants, and I've been surrounded by plants my entire life. So it just felt like the natural thing to gravitate towards. But we're talking here about biophilic design and the art of bringing nature and nature identical forms and shapes and concepts indoors. So nature-inspired design, also known as biophilic design, is the most effective way to promote relaxation and enhance alpha wave activity. Research shows that incorporating elements of nature into your space reduces cortisol levels and creates a sense of calm. Now, there is this Japanese practice that I've come to absolutely love, and it is so easy because I live close to nature, and I live close to an equestrian center, and I feel blessed to live in this location. So the reasons why I haven't left. And this practice, the Japanese practice, is called Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing. Now, Shinrin-yoku involves the act of immersing oneself in a forest environment, facilitating a reconnection with nature and a departure from urban stressors. Studies in Japan have shown that forest bathing significantly enhances sleep quality, reduces stress levels, and improves our overall mood and focus. Now, while the act of Shinrin-yoku is traditionally going out into a forested area. I would love to think that we can have the best of this world by bringing nature indoors. Thank you, biophilic design. Now, here's some practical ways to bring the outdoors in. The first is indoor plants. So, indoor plants are such an amazing way to add this element of calm into your space. I can speak for myself when I say that the moment I walk into my space or wake up in my space, I've got this giant monstera in my bedroom, and I have a pothos that I have trained all over one side of the wall. Just looking at those plants reduces my stress levels by a lot. I can't imagine a life where I don't have indoor plants. So adding ferns, peace lilies, or pothos plants, or any plant that you love and you connect with, these plants not only purify the air, they also require minimal maintenance. That's some ferns. No, you know what? I would say that there are some plants that require minimal maintenance, like the snake plants. The pothos also is easy to care for, but if you're not taking care of your plants are not going to take care of you. So when I say minimal maintenance, it's not you're not watering them at all, or you're not giving them sufficient lighting, or but I just want to make a quick caveat there, because I've given out plants to so many people, plants that are propagated, and those plants have died and they were minimal maintenance plants. They just weren't being taken care of. But that's an aside. It's a very sensitive, it's a touchy point for me because I love plants so much. However, anyway, so a small touch of greenery in your space can make a significant impact on your space in the mind and the quality of your mind. If you're not that into plants, like a few people I know who've killed my plants in the past, if you're listening, you know yourself. Think about incorporating natural materials like wood materials or stone materials or natural fabrics in your upholstery, your window treatment. And these materials can also help you connect to nature and help ground your interior environment. Particularly a live wooden table. I don't know if anybody has seen them. I would pop a link to a photo of a live wooden table. It's just such a beautiful natural element that it just elevates the aesthetics of the space, as well as the as well as the dynamics of the space as well. So a table finished in a table made from wood, or elements made from wood, or a linen cushion here and there, linen curtains. The list is endless for the amount of things that you can introduce into your space that consists of natural materials. These will instantly elevate your space and bring a sense of calm to your space. A third thing that you can do if you're not into plants, or even if you're into plants, all three are great, is to introduce nature-inspired artwork. So hanging images of landscapes, forests, or seascapes, or these tactile artwork with textural surfaces, those are absolutely beautiful. These visuals can transport your mind to a more serene state, even if you're indoors. Now that's that for biophilia. Let's move on to natural lighting and some artificial lighting. So I've mentioned before that lighting plays a crucial role in setting the mood for relaxing at the end of the day, which also is great for setting the mood for your alpha brain wave states. So stay away from harsh artificial overhead lighting, which can overstimulate the brain, especially towards the evening, even during the day. Unless it's a large space and you need general lighting, half the time we don't need general lighting in our interior spaces. We've got wall sconces, we've got table lamps, we've got floor lamps, we've got other forms of light. We've got perimeter lighting, accent lighting that can effectively illuminate your space without being harsh. and overstimulating to the brain. So avoiding these will keep you in your alpha brainwave state. Constant exposure to harsh overhead artificial lighting will keep you in high beta brainwave states, and we don't want that throughout, especially we don't want that throughout the day, especially leading towards the evening when we need to start to wind down for the end of the day. And conversely, warm, low-level, ambient, layered lighting encourages relaxation and fosters alpha wave activity. Now, there's a whole spiel about lighting design. It's a whole world on its own. And if you're interested in lighting, in how to layer your lighting in your interior spaces, I'm writing an article on that that's going to come out. I'm going to post it on LinkedIn. And when it's ready, I would post a link when the next episode comes out. It's a really effective way to calm the brain and just put yourself in a nice rest and digest mind state. Now, here's how you can optimize your interior lighting. First of all, you swap bright bulbs, that's bulbs in the cool spectrum, for warmer LEDs that in the warm spectrum. So when you choose warm tone bulbs that mimic natural light and are easy on the eyes, your brain loves you for it. And again, as I mentioned earlier, layer your lighting. Use a combination of floor lamps, wall sconces, perimeter lighting, accent lighting, or string lights. I don't really like string lights, but some people love string lights. So if that's your jam, use string lights. And these help you create a really cozy atmosphere. And this interplay of light and shadow can have a really soothing effect. There is a really cool book that I read many years ago. It was recommended to me by our lighting design tutor, our lighting design professor. She's not a tutor. I'm sorry. Her name is Nora. Excuse me. And it's a little book, but it was deeply impactful. And it talked a lot about that interplay of light and shadow in interior spaces and how it plays with the mind in a great way. And these interplay of light and shadow can have a really soothing effect on you. And the third thing that I'm going to share with you is to invest in dimmer switches or smart bulbs. So dimmer switches are an absolute must, especially if you are not ready to invest in circadian rhythm. And by circadian lighting is lighting that has been, what's that word? I'm blanking on the word. Lighting that has been orchestrated, for lack of a better word, to mimic the transition of daytime to nighttime. So it's already programmed. That's what I was looking for. It's been programmed to do that. But we all can't invest in a circadian lighting plan. So the easiest thing to do is to invest in dimmer switches. So for your overhead lights or your perimeter lighting or your tabletop lamps or your floor lamps, if you've got a dimmer switch feature, you can tone it way down towards the evening so that the luminescence is not so high, and it's just great. And these allow you to adjust your lighting to suit your mood and activity. So if you want a more moody setting, you can tone it way down, and if you want a more focused environment, you can turn it way up. And so those three are great for lighting strategies. Now, another thing that I would like to talk about is, I talked about clutter, but I'm going to talk about it again, because a clutter-free space doesn't just look better, it feels better. So clutter acts as visual noise, and it overstimulates your brain, and it makes it very difficult to relax. So clean up your environment, organize your space. As I said earlier on in the podcast, take it one step at a time and focus on being intentional with decluttering your space. And so now that we've covered all of the elements of creating your alpha zone, we're going to put it all together, tie it all together, everything that we've talked about today. This is how you design a space that nurtures relaxation and creativity. Number one, choose a small, manageable area to start with. This could be your a reading nook that you have, or a corner of your bedroom, or a dedicated space if you have the space for it to create, your alpha zone. And two, add biophilic elements like a plant, if you love plants and can keep one alive. Please be able to keep one alive if you want a plant. If you can't keep a plant alive, natural textures, natural materials, natural elements are great. And add a nature-themed artwork. Those tactile pieces of art are just amazing. If you're into them, they're an awesome addition to any interior scheme. And these will bring a sense of calm into your space. Number three, optimize your lighting. So use warm, layered lighting to set a soothing atmosphere. Number four, add comfort elements like a comfortable chair, your soft cushions, a throw, or a rug to make your space inviting to you. So it's something that you're looking forward to. And fifth and final is to personalize your zone. So include items that inspire you. Maybe it's a favorite book, your favorite essential oil diffusing in the corner, or a scented candle. If you're using a scented candle, make sure it's an organic and natural scented candle, no synthetics. We did a whole podcast episode on toxins and all sorts of things you can find around the house, including commercial scented candles. So be careful on that point if you're buying a scented candle. Or a journal if you're into it, or your meditation rug, or the sky is the limit for you. You can go as far as your imagination is willing to take you, because this is your space and you're personalizing it to suit you. And these small touches can make the space feel uniquely yours. Now, I understand that not everyone has access to large spaces or unlimited resources, but the beauty of an alpha zone is that it's adaptable. So for small spaces, introduce vertical storage space or portable dividers, or portable dividers that are not opaque. If you are sharing the space with somebody else and you want to be connected to the rest of the space, or opaque if you want to be completely blocked out visually, that's fine as well. And this helps you create a zone for yourself. So even if it's a single shelf in a corner, it can serve as a sanctuary for you. It signals your brain that this piece of furniture is my space, and once I'm in it, I am safe. It's a lot like how when I was growing up, and I know a lot of people had this as well, our dads had the special chairs. And now that I think back, it must have something to do with it being a safe space for them. Anyway, so moving forward, so that's for small spaces. If you have a tight budget, you can get creative with DIY decor. You can, if you live in a country where thrift items are the norm, Paris is full of thrift items. It's great. Or you can create your own piece of art if you're creative like that, and print it out. Beauty doesn't have to break the bank. Beauty can be creative. So yeah. So that's that for if you've got tight budgets. And so if you found this useful, take a moment to reflect on what we have covered today. Over the course of this episode, we explored the science of alpha waves. We explored the psychology of relaxation and creativity that triggers alpha brainwave states. And then we explored ways that we can use intentional interior design to transform our mind states. Your alpha zone would be more than a space for you. It's a place for mindset change or a mindset shift. And so when you combine nature-inspired design with thoughtful layered lighting and purposeful decluttering, you can create an environment that nurtures your mind and fosters your creativity. So what is one thing that you would like to change today and you can do right now to invite alpha waves into your life? Maybe it's as simple as decluttering, or maybe it's as simple as swapping out that white bulb for a warmer one. Maybe it's just going to the store and buying a dimmer switch, or maybe it's just adding the plant to your little corner, adding the plant to your bedside table. Those small things are really important for creating big impacts, because when you start small, you're starting small, but you're adding on incrementally. And over time, you look around you and find that, oh my God, yes, this is really working for me. So start small, but dream big. And remember that your mind is your most powerful ally, and your environment can be your mind's greatest partner. Right, so that is all I have for you today. I hope that you found this episode as insightful and useful as I have enjoyed creating it for you. Until next time, stay well, be well, and take care. Bye.